Okay, so what I was saying before is that Kim was gonna do opening thoughts today, and she got an alert yesterday that she had a doctor's appointment today, so she asked me to do her opening thoughts today. The quote that she sent me is, "You'll never change your life until you change something you do daily. The secret of your success is found in your daily routine." And one thing that we talked about last week that we wanted to just pay attention to and was kind of like track our habits or track what we were doing just to see what we're working on. But when I read this quote, for me, it brings up like morning and evening routines and having something that is something that you continuously do. Mostly the morning routine. I find if I don't do my morning routine, I feel off for the whole day.
Yeah, my morning's the same way. It definitely affects my entire day if I don't get my workout in, I don't get my meditation time, I listen to audiobooks, I do stretching, all this. I got this whole 2 hour plus routine, and if I skip it, yeah, it definitely affects my day.
You don't often, no?
No, I don't.
Does anyone else have anything to share from kind of paying attention to what their habits were, their daily activities for the week?
In listening to Gary Brecka, I was thinking, and I haven't done it yet, but going and standing out on the ground in the morning and getting first daylight is what he said, is just to spend 5 to 10 minutes just touching the ground and first daylight. And so this morning, as I was doing my routine, I was thinking, okay, what kind of things can I add in that can help balance, me? And so I think part of my routine is actually listening to people that are top in their industry in health and wellness. And that's kind of one of my things I really like to listen to, start my day.
So I have a thought. For me, what I'm personally struggling with is that I have a routine, but I'm struggling in changing my routine. Like I'm wanting to do things that are different and changing my focus. And so that's another thing that I'm working on, is like, okay, I have all these things that I'm doing, like taking kids to school, doing all these things that I do all the time. And then it's like, where is my time to do all the new things that I'm trying to implement and shift? And so, I haven't told James this yet, but I'm just like, every Monday night, I'm just going to go to the library for 3 hours and just crank out a bunch of stuff. And that's a start for me to kind of break up my routine by creating a new routine, if that makes sense. Anyway, I don't know if anyone else struggles with that, but I'm really wanting to make some big changes. And it's interesting how challenging it's been because I'm so like stuck in my routine.
Yeah, I would add, like, I went through a similar exercise earlier this year in doing some coaching, and I realized a few things that I really wanted and needed to add to my day in creating a morning routine. And I'm not a morning person, but my boys wake up really early, so I've always had to. And I found that I had to get up a half hour earlier, and it's just a half hour, but I had to get up a half hour earlier to like squeeze in the few extra things that I needed and to make it a consistent routine, one that I could depend on. And so I've done it this whole year. I have, but I had to put post-it notes like throughout the house with my new routine. It would be like, okay, this 15-minute block of time is this. Like I still needed to give myself like 45 minutes to sit down and drink my coffee in the morning after I made lunches and breakfast. So I wouldn't sacrifice my own time, but I needed to get in some exercise and some journaling. So to do that, I had to sacrifice a little more time and I had to remind myself. So the post-it notes are still up around my house.
I love that. It reminds me of Mel Robbins. She says that you want to make it as easy as possible to change your habits. So like when she first started working out in the morning, she would just, and I think she still does it to this day, where she lays out her clothes like on the floor, on her path to the bathroom. So she has to change her clothes into her workout clothes before she goes to the bathroom. And that just made me think of Shayna, for your thing for the library. I wonder if you could schedule like a meeting room or something to be the 3 hours every Monday. And then that way you already have it scheduled and it's like, oh, I'm taking this time block, so I'm gonna go no matter what.
Yeah, I put that in my calendar this morning and that's what I'm going to start implementing. I also like Shantae, what you said. It reminded me of, oh God, what is it called? Where you pair your like you pair a new
Habit
thing.
stacking.
Habit stacking. Thank you. Yeah. So like implementing that more has been helpful because I'm already doing some things okay that, and I'm like, okay, I can add this to it while I'm doing that. So that's kind of helping too.
I like combining activities like that. My workout time isn't just like music and motivational energy to work out really hard. I use that for my audiobooks, my podcast, YouTube shorts, that kind of stuff. So I'm actually learning, and it kind of sets the tone for the day, like I said earlier. But I'm accomplishing both things. Like I'm listening to one right now that I just started. I don't know if any of you follow Mind Valley and Vision, but he's got a lot of great stuff. But he wrote a book called The Buddha and the Badass that I started, and I'm really liking it. And I'm gonna recommend it to Sydney because it has a lot to do with, or there's a lot of similarities with the branding and coaching she's doing right now. But yeah, stacking that, not just working out, but I do my breath work, I do my stretching, I do my working out, and I listen to education, to continue learning. I like mostly personal development stuff in the morning.
Yeah, I really like the idea though of having reminders for the new things you're trying to create a habit around.
Until you don't need them.
Yeah, it reminded me of Jeff and I have put a lot of time blocks on our calendars. And I like to follow up with them and say, did you do this?
We're still working on it, but it's on there. I'm improving and I'm not quitting just because I'm not there yet. So yeah, it's a daily thing for me to add in my new routines.
So actually, speaking of, my mouse is over here. One of the new things that we've added in is to get a market update. And this is one of the things, is like, so did you do it? And he was like, oh no. And I was like, but you did, like you started it. I know you did it because he started adding it in and he was working on it, but he just didn't give me the slides.
Right.
So I made him come in and do it before team meetings because he did the research.
So I was looking at stuff. I wanted to do this for my own benefit because a lot of times, well, not a lot of times, I didn't start that right. I'm neglectful on the business part of what I'm learning, right? I just mentioned that I like the personal development so much that I'm doing way more of that, but I need to purposely stay abreast of what's going on in our industry and the market, and not necessarily all the negative news that's out there. But this isn't really a market update, but I took some slides from Mike Del Preti's website. He's an analyst that does a lot of research on data, and I found it interesting. Just now that Q3 numbers are out here, the agent count change and how EXP is still growing. But you look at those, actually this is, go to the next one. Okay, go back. The graph looks so similar. I thought it was the second one. I like where we're at, guys, and I know you guys do too. We're in a great company, great brokerage. They're continuing to grow. The reason there's two slides here, go to the next one now, is showing the trend of the industry. What I found interesting here is the 10,500 agents that left on the bottom part of that graph are leaving the brick and mortar businesses, and the increase is just totally shifting. The growth is on the online brokerages, and the migration that's leaving the brokerages is on the old-fashioned model. And I think we're going to continue to see that. That trend is going to continue. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
I'm sure.
This is company-wide growth, Shantae. It's not just Utah. It's interesting, the numbers are, you look at the trailing 9-month agent count, the whole industry is different than it was a couple, even a year ago, 2 years ago. If you remember, there was a period of time where EXP was growing by like 1,000 agents a month. Or maybe it was even a week, but it was like our trend was and so it's slowed down for EXP and for other brokerages as well, but we're still growing. So this is just an interesting trend to be aware of.
Anybody have any thoughts on that before we go to the next one?
Hey, I'll mention something real quick on that, on just kind of what the market's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Is I was having a discussion with an investor who bought a rental property, 6 months ago from us, and he was really concerned about the pricing and what's going on in the market, and did he make a mistake? And I kind of painted the picture of, when home prices continue to go up and up and up and up, and it's just everyone's hectic to try to get in before the next price bump 2 months later. It's funny. Everyone, there's just this feeling and an aura that the prices are never going to stop going up. It's just crazy. And I kind of feel it's the same way right now, where people feel like it's never going to rebound. Like, are rates ever going to come down? Is the market ever going to continue, like, kind of rebound? And it seems to me that the media and people in general just kind of feel and listen to what's happening and feel like it's permanent. So it's going to change again, and we're going to have a crazy ride the other direction as well. So just I think keep in mind we're in the moment that's current, and we just adjust, and we'll have to adjust again when it goes the other way. So just perspective of where we're at and where we're going to be again.
I want to add to what Eric said too. This time last year was horrific. It just was. And so this month, this time is we have less inventory than I feel like we had last year. I could be wrong on that, but I'm not seeing this massive price adjustment across the board. I mean, some houses are, those that have, they're not exactly what people want. Maybe, the houses that would have been harder to sell in the past market are harder to sell now. That's why we try really hard to tell our people when they're buying, hey, if you end up selling in a market kind of like now, it's going to be a little tougher than when, there was only 2 properties available for you to buy in the price range. But I mean, I keep seeing all these posts about values going up this year, even though interest rates are still higher. Well, actually they've dropped nicely, but I agree with Eric, I think spring's gonna be crazy again.
No, I agree with all of that. There is a problem with the consumer where, like Eric said, they look at this snapshot in time and they think this is where we're going to stay. It's an education responsibility on our part to kind of help them look at the bigger picture. There's a lot of data coming out right now. I don't know if you guys follow like Keeping Current Matters or some of the other sites that post on real estate, but they've released the 5-year projections for real estate growth. And I didn't give Ashley a slide on this, but over the next 5 years, they all are in the positive as far as growth. People are waiting for prices to come down, not realizing the dynamic of it. When interest rates come down, prices are going to go up. So they're not huge projections, but the forecast is over 3% next year, and then it drops down. Or no, next, that was for 2023, it's 3.3%. Next year they have 2.1% as appreciation, and this is national numbers, of course. And we know that every state can be different, and every county and community can be different. But on the national numbers, The next 3 years after that go up 3.2 to 3.8 to 4.1. So buying now definitely has its advantages. And if interest rates come down, refinance. And write that appreciation, even though it's not what we're used to, it's still gonna go up. That's all.
Awesome. That's a bunch of good info. Next, we've got our buyer needs, new listing, open house opportunities, and then our wins and challenges. Since we've got a smaller group today, we could let's just combine the two. If you've got a win or challenge or any type of needs or anything, just now's the time to share.
I have a challenge.
Go for it.
A challenge for you guys to help me. I need advice on so, and Shantae might be able to cue into this too a little bit. So I have a listing here in Sweet Home. It's in a mobile home park. I have a buyer in Washington and they need to sell their home. I've got them working with an agent up there to sell their home. We just submitted a offer on the house to my sellers. So part of it is my sellers are having a hard time with like the contingency on selling the buyer's home. So the offer was to buy this home contingent on the sale of their home. My sellers are paying $500 a month rent, park rent, on the house, and they live in Washington. And so they'd like to. The buyer already offered it, and the seller is like, sounds like a good idea. But I'm trying to figure out how to work that in. I don't know if I need to go like to escrow and have them create an account that the buyer can pay into to pay the monthly rent for the next few months while we're waiting for their house to sell. Or if you have any ideas on that, that'd be fantastic.
So is that part of your contract that they will pay that rent?
Not yet, no. The offer was just a standard buyer offers to purchase for this amount with the contingency of selling their home. But the sellers are going to counter offer, and the buyers already offered before we wrote the contract about the rent. But we wanted to wait until we talked to the sellers about it, and then the sellers, they'd like to do that. So just any ideas on how to do that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think it sounds pretty messy. I think the cleanest way to do it is for them to estimate how, like, best case estimate how long they think it will take to sell their home based on what their Washington realtor says, base their earnest money off that a bit, and make their earnest money non-refundable and release to the seller immediately, so the seller can use that to pay for the park rent.
Well, the rent would be over and above the purchase price though. So the earnest money is part of the purchase price. They'd have to have a separate agreement for the rents. Unless you're saying they adjust the purchase price accordingly, like raise.
I mean, you could do an agreement to occupy before closing, and charge them, a rental fee. But then they assume responsibility and they have to have insurance for the actual unit as well.
I think my listing clients would like that, to just come, because it was 39,000 is all it is, and the offer was 35, and if we went up to 37 and they were, or even 36.5, that's 3 months, and then payable immediately, the earnest pay to be non-refundable and pay immediately. And that way my sellers could pay their rent for 3 months, and after that 3 months it could become bumpable if the buyer's home hasn't sold. I think that's a good idea. Did that make sense?
Sellers can use that earnest money for anything they want. I mean, if it's contingent, it's still bumpable. It's just, not as many people, not as many buyers look at something that's active under contract. So it ties up their property still a bit. I think the non-refundable earnest money is the cleanest and option and the one that creates less liability.
Yeah, that's what I said. The non-refundable earnest money.
Mm-hmm.
So send it back to the buyers the counter offer for more. So it's like 36.5 instead of 35. So that would be 3 months rent, and make the earnest money non-refundable, and the earnest money to be 1,500. That way my sellers could pay their rent.
The purchase price is different than the earnest money.
Yeah,
So just determine if it's,
but the earnest money comes out of the purchase price.
yeah, ultimately. I mean, if your sellers want the purchase price to be negotiated, then I would do that. But otherwise, I would just ask for $1,500 or $2,000 non-refundable earnest money.
Oh, okay. I see. So don't rise it just off of that. That makes sense. So we can,
Well, if you don't raise the price, then they sell 3 months later, technically, they're still paying the rent. Because it's lowering the purchase price, because part of their proceeds are going to maintain the lot fee, but they don't want to maintain the lot fee, right? So either collect an amount up front and call it prepayment of lot fee, have them give a cashier's check to the title company or something to be released to you. You could do an escrow, where a third party collects a monthly payment from them and then makes the lot payment, kind of like you would do either a lease back or a seller finance type of agreement. I don't know if you've ever used an escrow company up there before. That's an option, or just have them make the payment themselves. But your challenge is collecting it from the buyer. So you don't want to necessarily collect it as non-refundable earnest money unless you're increasing that and increasing the purchase price as well. Because if you don't, then essentially they're just paying for it because they're going to net less, if that makes sense.
yeah, that does make sense.
What kind of time frame have you given them? Are you saying 90 days because you've given them 3 months to sell their personal property as part of that contingency? Do they have a deadline on that?
We haven't determined that yet.
Our contract actually has a date, a fillable blank, where you could put in a date that they must be under contract to sell that property by, or the seller can cancel and move forward with somebody else.
Ours does too.
I must have misunderstood your question.
Well, I was just asking what kind of time frame you gave them to sell their other property.
Oh, 6 months.
Oh.
Wow, it's a long time.
Yeah, it is. But like I said, it's there. You know, you don't know, and then it's gonna come back from the listing side to update that date. It's just had to put a date in there, and it's the listing agent is going out this coming weekend, because the first listing agent didn't work out, unfortunately. So yeah.
Well, does that give you a couple ideas?
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else have anything they want to share before we move on? Oh, I wanted to share a win actually. Both Jeff and I have someone signed up to come to the overview on Wednesday. That's exciting.
Nice.
Woo.
Yeah.
Jennifer?
Nice.
Oh,
Well,
I did buy my tickets for Cabo, and I have 2 people joining.
That's awesome.
that's great. You got 2 people going.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice job.
Yeah, and one of the 2 has already purchased her like real estate, her pre-training stuff, and she's joining one of my networking groups. So she's like all in. I'm excited for you to meet her.
So cool.
How many people do you have going to Cabo? Are they going to Cabo? I
Does
think-
that count?
It might be the biggest group that you guys have had.
I'm super excited to meet her. I can't wait to go to Cabo, you guys. It's like totally looking forward to the heat and the palm trees and everything else.
It's crazy because we're I work on the registration pages and things for our trainings like super far in advance, and we're already like booking out until April. And I was looking and I was thinking like, oh my gosh, March is already almost here. That's how it feels.
It's gonna be here quick. I'm excited for that one.
And those tequila shots, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll save those for you.
Speaking of trainings, last week's was Jeff Bitten came in to teach us about pitch 59 again. And I think everybody knows about pitch 59 on here or has been to like a training except for Shantae. This would be a good one to watch. I know you're super busy with your Tony Robbins stuff, but it was a really good training, and pitch 59 is a super amazing tool. Have you even heard Jeff talk about it? Because if you haven't, I mean, I don't know how.
No, I did, and I have heard you talk about it a little, and so I was really excited to be on this one. Oh, I had a listing consultation that day, and my new client, she's my first that has requested to go all paper. And so it was like 2.5 hours to print everything out and already. And she's bless her heart, an older lady and hasn't bought or sold by herself before. So it was a very, very, very long appointment, and I was expecting to be in this training, but I couldn't make it.
Well, it was good. Have you already posted the recording?
Yeah,
The
it's in
recordings and
Facebook
Team Limitless Facebook group, and I think the links are on there too. You can, I think it's worth looking into for you, Shantae. It's a really good tool to have people refer you, but also to offer value to your other agents and show them something that could help their business. Your networking group all want to be promoted, and so a value add to either the networking groups you're in is just basically showing it to them and introducing it to them. Get Eric's affiliate link. First month's free, and then it's $12 a month after that, and then you can get your own affiliate link as you just share it with people so that they can have that as a resource to increase their business. You'll get people that'll want it because it's pretty unique when you really look at it, what it does. And as an affiliate, you get 20% of their monthly fee. So essentially, as soon as you get 5 people that get one, it's a no-cost tool for you, which is super easy to accomplish if you just show it to people. I think the first 5 people I showed it to got one. So
it really is incredible. It's good for any business. Like every business that you have that is, that you work or want to promote, it's awesome. I think it's the best referral tool I've ever seen.
I've been building a referral partner team with local businesses that also do real estate stuff, like pressure washers, roofers, stuff like that. As soon as I'm done gathering everybody, I'm going for a dozen. Halfway there now, but we're gonna meet for dinner, and this is one of the things I'm gonna bring to the table when we talk.
I think it's perfect for a group like that, Nathan, because you will have that at your fingertips, because the purpose of putting a group like that is so you can refer each other, right? And so when you show them this and say, this is going to make it easier for me to refer you, and it'll probably happen more often, it really will, because it's so easy, it's so slick, it's so fast that you actually use it. I've made more referrals since getting this to my partners than I probably have in the last 2 years.
One thing that Shane and I learned about recently, because we've been talking about making some custom listing signs is that we reached out to them, and they're super fast. We asked a question, we probably had the answer 3 minutes later. But so on pitch 59, that little QR code, that is a permanent QR code. And then I related that back to the open house that we did for our condo. Not our condo, but a condo we helped sell. And I had a QR code on just sitting there on the counter, and we had so many people coming through, and you could track the scans. We probably had 7 to 10 people scan that. So if you can put your pitch 59 QR code on there, you can introduce, you may not necessarily have a chance to introduce yourselves to these people, but everybody that comes through and scans that has an opportunity to listen to you be introduced how you want to be introduced to other people, and then they can save that and potentially share it. And one thing that was this is somewhat a rehash of what Jeff was saying, but the thing that was impactful to me is when they had people, when they did like a Google or a Yelp search, and they went with the highest rated person, and then they compared that to the people who they saw the pitch 59 card of, and 100% of the people went from going to the highest rated person to the person that they actually saw a video of. I mean, that's pretty impactful. And one of Shayna's mentees came up, and I walked him through our open house the other day, and I was telling him, like, hey, don't bother with Facebook ads. Don't bother with any of that crap. Just spend like $15 a month, get pitch 59. Then we talked about how important it is to take control of you conveying who you are to other people. And that way you're not a cookie cutter of, because if a friend refers to me, he's like, oh yeah, I have this great real estate agent. And that's probably exactly what everybody says. You want to stand out. I said, this way you can control the message 100%. If you don't control the message, somebody else is, and it's not going to be as good. But so I think that's an interesting way. Shane and I haven't decided, and this is a long little rant, but we might put the QR code on our for sale signs, or we might put it as a rider. Just as people are coming through, they can be introduced to us, whether we're there or not. They can see our faces and kind of get to know us, and that's just an added benefit.
A great idea.
Yeah.
Oh, I really love the idea of putting that on signs, and that's great. It's awesome.
I have another thought about that. A while back, I went to a house for a tour. Excuse me. And you know how agents leave their cards behind on the counters usually. There's a certain company here that they left their cards, but on their cards was a QR code, and it was their, to scan it, it was their V card automatically uploads their contacts to your phone. I thought that QR code would be perfect for the business cards for the pitch 59. So cool.
Love it.
Next week, we've got the overview coming up, and
This week.
this Wednesday. So with mine, how I did my invite, actually, so Jennifer Clark has been into our office multiple times. She's gone to a lot of our trainings. She continues to come to our trainings. And I've asked her if she was curious about EXP, and she's like, you know what, I would have a hard time paying higher fees. I'm really happy where I'm at. And so I didn't really push it too much, but what I did this time is I said, you know what, we're looking to revamp our presentation for the new year, because Jeff and I have been talking about making some changes. And I just said, would you be willing to come in as someone outside of our brokerage and give me feedback on our presentation? And she said, absolutely. And so she's going to come in, and I thought no matter what, it will be great to get some feedback from someone else. And so that was kind of a different angle that I took on that.
Yeah, so the two people I have coming, one just started attending our trainings. She just saw us on Facebook, started attending. She did a couple online. She's been in our office, I think at least three times. And it was just because of the trainings. She just started to come, and then at one point, about 2 weeks ago, she said, hey, I'd really like to set up a time to talk to you about what you got going on here. I'm thinking about making a move. So she's gonna be here. And then just last week, I got a call from an agent that Lynn and I had done an overview for, oh gosh, Lynn, probably a year ago or more. And he ended up going to a different brokerage. But he reached out to us because he's got a friend that is looking to make a move and wanted to refer her to us because of the impression that I guess we made back then. The ironic thing is he's not even in real estate anymore. He's in insurance sales, and he's not even with the brokerage that he went to instead of EXP, but he still had a good impression of what EXP had to offer back then, and we all know it's better now. It just continues to improve, but it was just a referral from another agent that was a friend of his that isn't quite happy where she's at, and so she'll be here Wednesday as well.
Gotta love those phone calls.
Yes.
Yeah, and so one ask I guess I have for you guys too is to, if you can, hop on Zoom or come in person to the overview so that we can get more feedback on that as well. I would love to have feedback from all of you, you know, when we meet next week. I think that would be great.
Awesome.
And then our upcoming trainings, just quickly skip over that.
Hey guys, do you know who's sponsoring Wednesday?
Yes, it's actually a chiropractic, what do I call it? Office? Yeah, they called in and they did their whole pitch on why realtors need chiropractic services because their work is stressful and all these things. So they're sponsoring.
Oh, cool.
I have to tell you how excited those people are that I'll actually listen to them, and then I give them your phone number, Ashley, but they're calling real estate offices, and most people are saying no or whatever. But you know, I love the alternative medicine, and when people are looking at the natural way. I mean, our chiropractor is actually who helped us be as healthy as we are, just because he was doing natural alternatives. So hopefully it's a great presentation. That's what I'm hoping anyway.
Yeah, no, it's Bright Side Chiropractic is what it's called.
Nice.
And for those of you in Utah, we've got our 2 different Christmas events for Utah that our brokers are throwing. One is on the 7th, and the other one, I don't even see a date. Oh, on the 13th. So one's up north, and then the other one's Salt Lake. So if you guys want to go to that, we're planning to go to the Jingle and Mingle. We'll be there.
The Mingle, yay!
Mingle. I think Shayna and James are going to go to both of them.
Definitely mingling.
We're not going on the 13th because they originally announced it as the 8th for Friday, because they said Thursday, Friday, but the 13th is Wednesday, and we're gonna be at your office. So
Yeah, I just was thinking that.
yeah. So I don't know why they changed it, but it doesn't work for us. So we'll come to the first one.
Yay!
Expert tips. So what we're trying to do, we had Donnie on last week. We want to get someone to come in to give us like tips on, you know, really something that they really specialize in. So we didn't get anybody for this week, but we're going to have Matt Ashby come on next week and talk about all the things that he's doing for our group, because we're all in his downline. Do you know specifically what he's going to
He was gonna come today, but he had a dentist appointment, so we bumped him to next Monday, and I didn't get a replacement. So most of you know who Matt Ashby is, the Clarks. I don't know if you've ever met Matt, but he's my sponsor's sponsor. He's the one that showed Eric and I EXP all those years ago. Did an overview for us. He lives up in Canada. Actually, now he spends his winters in Mexico, down in Playa del Carmen, and he's got some business going on down there. But super cool guy. He's in business with his dad and his brother there, you can see. He's gonna come on. Most of you should have got, well, all of you should have gotten an email from him, I think just last week, about a Facebook group that he started. It's Ashby Resources Group. That's where she took this screenshot from. Check that out, join that group. That's gonna become a hub where they can have a central location to talk about all the things that they have going on. to help our team. He's gonna get more into expansion and
Hey, Lynn, you have a minute?
Hold on. Sorry, guys.
Quick.
Didn't mean to do that. Hold
So anyway, he's gonna come, he's gonna talk about some of the resources and things that they're doing to help us grow our EXP business. And he's gonna actually be diverting a lot more of his time to growth. So he may be involved in the stuff that we're doing, and on the other end, I want to be more involved in what he's doing and plug into the things he's doing, because I want to grow my EXP business. So look forward to meeting him next Monday on our time slot.
And if anybody didn't get the invite, just let me know and I can invite you to it. And last but not least, we have Shantae doing our parting thoughts. She skipped her Tony Robbins training just to be here for this.
Yes, thank you again, Shantae. Shantae says, I made a commitment. I'm in this 6-day intensive with Tony Robbins, but I'm here because I said I'd be. So
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, so this isn't the quote that I thought I was going to share with y'all. It didn't really perfectly align with my message and content that I wanted to share thereafter. But I've heard a variation of this before, and while it's not like a direct quote, I think it's really, really a good kick in the pants, right? Like good times create weak people. I think that's really interesting. I mean, certainly to our industry, but really in all facets of our life. Our COVID years have been like very interesting years, right? But in real estate, we had a couple of really busy years. We had some years where business was, I argue to say not easy, but we didn't have to work too hard to land business. It just happened. And so good times create weak people. I can see that as compared to now. We talk about a lot of people dropping out of the industry and not being able to prospect or create new business and such. So at the same token, weak people create bad times. So if we stay in that state or that frame of mind, we end up creating, our own destiny, our own future, right? And we choose what path we want to take. Bad times create strong people. I think that is also very true, right? You can choose to rise above, or you can choose to stay in the pain. And so it really, again, just depends on what path you want to take. And those strong people, those realtors that stick in the industry, those strong people are going to create great times, and the cycle will repeat. And from the economy to, the interest rates, like everything is a cycle, and people so often forget, from our clients to ourselves. Sometimes we forget that these things happen in a cycle, and we'll continue to have moments of high interest rates, and then interest rates will drop, and same with, we'll have easier clients, and then we'll have tougher clients, and it will just repeat, right? So I wanted to, or I decided to share this with Ashley for my quote, because I think it's such a good thing to reflect on. And as we approach 2024, I think it's always important to do some real strategic business planning. But sometimes we get overwhelmed with taking on too many things. I know I certainly do. And I think it's important to pick 2 or 3 primary focuses and things to improve your business, things that you can really, really put a lot of energy into, so that you remain one of those strong people that will continue to create great times for your business and your family. One of the activities that I love doing once a year, if not twice a year, that helps me identify my strengths and my gaps and where I want to focus, is this exercise called Your Last 10 Clients. So I do have a sheet for this, but seriously, you could just use any blank piece of paper. And I love writing down just, and so this would be my action item to you, to do over the week. Write down your last 10 clients and where they came from. Was it a personal referral? Were they referred to you by your lender? Maybe your insurance broker? Was it a relationship that you built from your kids' sports team? So again, your last 10 clients and where they came from. I think that really helps you identify where are you most consistently receiving referrals, where are you getting your business, and where are the gaps? And that helps you figure out where to double down on your business. That's what I got. Does that cover any thoughts or questions about this Tony Robbins cycle and identifying, helping to identify your focuses and where your business has come from?
So one of the first things that came to my mind was, because it's a cycle, I was like, oh, well, you become strong and then you become weak. And I was like confused for 1 second. And then I go, oh no, each time you go through the cycle, you're up leveling. So you're going to up level each time you go through the cycle. That's kind of, I guess, how I see it. And maybe it's in different facets of your life that you're going through the cycle. But I think that each time you go through it in specific areas, that you're raising the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. I've heard this explained in a broader sense, like generational, like, generations that have it good become weak people, and then their kids are weaker and they create bad times. And so thinking of it on a longer scale as a generational is one way to look at it, but I like the way you adapted it to our industry, because this applies to any cycle, right? Any type of cycle, and it's very true for our business. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, life is all about choices in your business and in your personal life, and we can choose to stick in the pain and the struggle and just sit in that, or we can choose to figure out ways to improve upon our crafts and our relationships and make for greater times.
Like Ashley said too, level up, right? I mean, look at the bad times, or even, it's not necessarily a bad market, it's just a different market. But when we look at things that are challenging, it should challenge us. It should challenge us to get better and grow from it, and be taking advantage of that discomfort a little bit. So.
Well, it's a matter of perception too, right? Like, because we're in the industry, we may not necessarily see this as a terrible time to buy, for instance, right? But our clients, on the other hand, especially our clients that watch a lot of news and are really suckered into what the media is telling them, they're seeing things through a very narrow lens. They're not seeing the big picture. So it is our continuous job to educate them and to help them understand the cycle that is real estate. I think sometimes we share tidbits, but it is our job to control the narrative, as James said, and have those conversations and be consistent in sharing those conversations.
Nice. I like the homework too. Be a good exercise.
I love it. And you took the words right out of my mouth when you're saying that it's all about perspective, because that's how I see it too, is that it's all about how you're looking at it. Because like you said, you can just stay in those bad times, or you can say, oh, the bad times are meant to make me stronger, and you can move through it. It reminds me of the training that I'm doing on the 20th. I called it the anxious agent, and I'm looking at the word anxious from two different perspectives. One is like being anxious about the market, or like, things that having that fear, doubt, and worry. And then the other side of it is to be like excited and eager. And just looking at things from a different perspective can oftentimes, I feel like, totally shift your mindset. And that's something that I told Jeff, because I I'm calling myself the anxious agent now. But I told him the other day, I was so excited, but I was like, I'm so anxious. And I had never used that word or that phrase in a positive way before. And thought it was pretty cool. I love watching Shantae. She's like processing.
Tracking the thought.
I'm not judging, but I don't know, maybe there's a better word for anxious to make it feel positive. I don't know, it doesn't make me feel positive, but we have been working on the last couple days, like our controlling narrative and our controlling statement, and changing, just rephrasing it. So just like you said, just to pivot, just to change the perspective. So if someone has a fear of not being in control, like there's plenty of us in the real estate world that are a little OCD and have to control our environment, right? I know I'm one. Rather than saying, this wasn't my question, but how can I not be in control? I could spin it to a positive, like, how can I appreciate the current environment? And I think spinning that narrative and changing your language is incredibly important. And I think I'm going to force myself to take my new positive spin on the question and ask myself at the end of every day, so I bring that appreciation back into my life. So the anxious agent is like really catchy to me. I like it, but then again, I'm like, but I think if you tell yourself the word anxious too many times, you make yourself believe that anxiousness.
So I've processed it enough now that I've switched my definition of anxious to be a positive definition. And so when I say it, it actually gets me really excited, because I have been on the other side. I've been on the anxious side, like terrified to start my business, even though I have so many resources available to me. And I've been on that side. So then to be able to switch it into a new perspective, it's like, it's really empowering for me, I feel like.
Well, I think that's part of the narrative, Shantae, that she's going after, is there's anxiety and stress that can be defined as being anxious. Then there's also excitement, and being anxious and eager. People just naturally think of the anxiety and stress definition of anxious. But if you can take that and convert it to being excited and being eager, that's being anxious for an event to happen, right?
Well, and realizing too, when you're anxious, a lot of times the reason you're anxious is because you really care. Like you really want the outcome to be positive. And so you're putting so much thought into worrying about something. But if you can just switch it, then it's like you can take all that energy and put it into a positive light instead.
I see. I love it. I don't know.
It's okay. You don't have to love it.
I still might consider like the excited agent or something. I mean, that makes me.
I know the anxious agent, the reason why I like it is because it is actually owning that part of me that I don't love, is that anxious side of me. I don't love it, but I'm owning it. And I don't know, I've shifted my perspective on it, but I see that other people will see it as a negative, but that's kind of what I want them to see it as, because then it will draw them in, because I will attract to me the people that are anxious, to help them.
I mean, I get it. I think I'm very stubborn, and I see that maybe a little bit in you too. Like for instance, we're talking about values right now, and Tony Robbins is saying, like, for instance, like your top 2 values, you can't your towards values can't be security and security and love and adventure. Like security, love, and adventure are like my top 3. He's like, that just doesn't make sense. That's a contradiction. And I'm like, no, I think it could make sense for me. It is a matter of perception. All right. I love where you're coming from with it.
What's interesting about this conversation is it's really a matter of where people come from. Because like Ashley will laugh about this because I looked up the actual definition. But so in the
I'm just waiting
Cambridge,
for it.
yeah, well, you know it was coming. So in the Cambridge English Dictionary, one definition of anxious is actually eager to do something. And then if you, this is just pure randomness, but from a medical perspective, this states that anxiety can be normal in stressful situations as public speaking or taking a test. Now, I want you to differentiate between what anxiety feels like and what excitement feels like. And how can you tell the difference? It's really up here. And then it says anxiety is only an indicator of underlying disease when feelings become excessive, all-consuming, and interfere with daily living. So another thing, so actually anxiety is good up until it kind of crosses the line and it pushes you too far. And then some similar words for being anxious: eager, keen, desirous, itching, longing, and yearning. And I would say if you were to hear those, none of those really come across as a negative connotation. So it's really about informing people like who you are, Ashley, as far as that goes, and that there's a lot of benefits to that. But
well, I like, just like you said, James, I like the conversation it brings up because things only have meaning that we give it. And so I think what she's going after is redefining what some people take as a negative and making it a positive, and you can consciously decide to do that. It only, what is it, Shakespeare says there is neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so. Whatever we label an experience becomes that experience for us, and it could be the same thing with an emotion. All those definitions and those terms that you read are positive. And when I was a kid, that's what anxious meant to me: excitement. As a kid, I'm excited for Christmas. I was anxious for my birthday to come around, anxious for a trip or whatever. It wasn't until becoming an adult that I even learned what anxiety and stress and worry were. I didn't even know what those were. And so it is a matter of labeling and internalizing what it means to you and turning things around, right?
Yeah, and it's really kind of an awareness thing, because I'm sure these definitions have been there for quite a while, but it goes back to like controlling our thoughts. Like, what type of information are we receiving? And if you're watching the news, you're watching I was going to say some sort of Viagra commercial, because that's just the ones that always pop up. But anyway, that was a funny pun. Either way, you're going to have to delete this part. But typically when you hear the word anxiety, it's the following word is disorder or disease or something like that. So you got to look at the source of information, where the stuff is coming from. One, if it's from like the media, or if it's from, say, somebody who's dealt with like an actual anxiety disorder from a long time, that's where it's coming from. And that's just a small pie of the actual perspective of what the entire word of anxious means. So it's really opening up people's eyes to what there is out there. And that kind of goes back to like the abundance mindset and growth mindset, is that we're just not have horse blinders on to one specific thing, that there's actually more out there outside of what we're seeing that's actually associated with the topic. And a lot of it is actually positive. I'm going to stop talking for the rest of the time.
I love it.
I totally agree. I think it's a matter of like programming, and like you said, Ashley, knowing the truth yourself. I just personally lean towards more positive, outward positive word selections, or that people would relate to, while it's catchy, because I feel like you could I don't know, I almost feel like you could reach more people with your message. To spin and rephrase. But just my thoughts, just because I know that that word is out there in a negative light. And I want it to stay so positive in your subconscious.
I
Well,
love
and I
this
think-
conversation. Sorry, I was gonna say, I love this so much because it's actually just like fueling me like a little bit more, because it's me that I'm like portraying, like it's who I am and what I've been through. And so I love this because I'm like sitting here taking a bunch of notes, because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just giving me more of how I'm seeing it. And if you would have told me this like 2 years ago or even a year ago, I would have been like, no, I'm not going to, I would never call myself that, because everyone's going to think that I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know how to do my job and I don't, I'm not confident. So why would someone want to work with the anxious agent? But then I think about those buyers and sellers that are anxious to sell their home, and somebody that can relate to them to say like, you know what, I've been here, I know what this is like, but here's some steps you can take to switch the way that your brain is working.
Ooh, I really like that. So what I like about this whole topic is that it's different. And yes, anxiety, anxiousness has such a negative connotation to it. However, it is really prevalent right now. And so I don't know, it'll be really interesting to see who shows up and how it goes. But if you look at the neurological side of this and kind of where Ashley's been educating herself, which is kind of like a Tony Robbins thing, but because I think this person that she's been educating herself with is also follows a lot of Tony Robbins things, is I think it'll be really good for some people to get a taste of what it's like to actually take control of your own mind, which most of us don't think we can. We think we need outside help to do that, but we actually have the ability internally to take that anxiety and make it that excited anxiousness of being excited about something. It's a lot of fun once you figure it out.
I lied. I have one more thing to say. One good thing about this is I've been posting some things as far as like there's a virtual pivot point event by Tony Child that he came to the office. If you can watch it, or I would just sign up because there's going to be recordings so you can watch it at a later date. But one thing that was really, well, not necessarily from there, but anyway, a recent training that was really impactful is like so often we think of whether it's right or wrong and there's like a black and a white. But if you reframe those as like, is this working for me or is this not working for me? The anxious agent is completely working for Ashley in the way she's doing it, where that doesn't necessarily fit what Shantae's doing. And guess it's neither right or wrong. And so both are good. It's just a matter of kind of you being true to yourself. So that's kind of the fun part of this conversation too.
Well, and what she's getting to is being relatable to a certain segment of people that will understand and be attracted to the conversation because they're either there or they've been there before. And then the book I'm listening to right now, The Buddha and the Badass, I just like the title. But he was talking about when you put yourself out there and your purpose and your emotions on what you're trying to build and create, you're going to attract a certain amount of people, but it needs to be so strong and so specific that it actually repels others. If you try and be all to everybody, then you're not being specific enough to your own truth and what you're trying to create, pursue for you. And because you're trying to decide that based on how other people are going to perceive it or receive it. And so by being very specific, like that is very specific, right? I mean, it creates intrigue for some people and others, none, right? So I think we have to be willing to be who we are, be authentic, and not be relatable to everybody. Okay.
On that note. Move on to agent attraction for anybody that wants to stick around, because we are at 11:11.
Is Eric still on?
He is. So Eric, I didn't reach out to you this week to see if there's anything specific you wanted to talk about, but
No, that is just fine. Yes, I am still on. The only thing I was going to really bring up today is just to challenge everybody to invite, 4 or 5 people to the overview this week. Just kind of look back into your contacts, anyone you've talked to about EXP in the past, or even new agents you've worked with recently, and let them know that not only, I love what you said, Ashley, about getting an opinion on a new presentation, but the one thing about what we're doing right now is we're going over a few of the new items that EXP has added. And in my opinion, agents that have been slow or might be looking for something new or open to a different opportunity, the most important thing to most of those agents is going to be production, because they don't understand, or they certainly don't understand it, even if they know about potential revenue share or stock ownership. So most agents, that's not going to be number one on their mind, especially when the market's been slow. So what my focus is that EXP has released some new programs that no other companies have, that give you the ability to increase your production higher than you've ever had it in the past, and really make up for the difference in a slower market. And those are some of the things that we're going to talk about in our overview. So I think increased production, that is really the focus. Like, hey, we're coming on a new year. I would just like to invite you to the overview to learn more about what EXP has done just in the last 6 months to help agents increase their production for 2024. This is a great time to take a look and give us your opinion of our new tools and new presentation. Would be very helpful. Also, if you can reach out to them today, much better than tomorrow. So if you haven't talked to anyone, or you don't have anyone, or you've got somebody in mind that you'd like to invite them today, because when you invite somebody to something tomorrow, there's always things on the schedule, things pop up, you didn't get something done today, it gets kicked to tomorrow. So if you're like me, if somebody invites me to something tomorrow, I probably will say no, because I'm behind today already from everything I need to get done. But when somebody says, hey, do you want to go have dinner in 2 weeks on Thursday night and catch up? You say yes, because 2 weeks sounds so far away. So I would say if you're going to make some invites, do it today and then follow up tomorrow, if at all possible.
Great advice.
I'm making my list.
This is the last one of the year right here. So I think this one and the next one are just great opportunities, because people are going to want to kick off the year in the right way. But this is a fantastic opportunity to get people to look and think about something new and exciting in preparation for the next year.
Love it. Does anybody want to talk about their goals, how they did, how they didn't do? I know for mine, I was able to invite somebody and she said yes, so I'm excited about that, but I'm going to go for inviting at least 5 more. I just made my list as Eric was talking, so I'm going to go for that.
I've made 3 invites and have someone that said that they can come, so I'm hoping that they will. A little conflict in schedule for that agent, but hoping for the best. And I'm going to reach out to some more today that I haven't talked to in a while, and some new ones as well.
And if you guys ever think it would be helpful, I'm always available to reach out to someone. So to just remind them, like, hey, register for this event. Because I feel like when people register too, they're more likely to actually make it than if they're like, oh yeah, I'll think about coming. So if you ever think that would be helpful, just shoot me their info and I can reach out to them, cause I just did that with Michonne, cause he said she's coming. So I just shot her a reminder and just said, hey, Jeff said you're coming to this event, can I have you register? So I got an accurate count for lunch.
Nice.
So that's another idea if you guys are interested.
And I'll throw this out too. Just kind of some real life example. So you guys kind of get a feel for it. We don't have the largest teams in EXP. But I'll tell you, when you just have a few agents that you're working with that are closing transactions, it really does make a big difference in your bottom line every month to have that revenue share there. It is absolutely 100% worthy of your time to go do that and have some agents on your team. I look at the hours that I've spent with agents on the team that are producers, and the fact that it keeps coming in passively and residually, it's really incredible versus the time that you spend on a single transaction that you get paid on just one time only. So you can't even compound, you can't even calculate like your time investment for revenue share because it keeps coming every month. So the time you invest gets better and better every month that you have agents on your team. So whether you have a small team or a larger team, it's all worth it. And it's such a great way to spend an hour of your week each week to just grow that over time.
Hey, anybody have anything else to add? Before we get to my ending quote?
I wanted to add, so I'm in the process of working in a new group. Anyway, long story short, I think I can do this, but essentially I'm in this Facebook group that has almost 4,000 people in it, and the admin owns an LLC for the group. And so I think technically I can register that Facebook group, and can offer bundle select to the members of that group. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, any business or organization that has members, you can offer it to.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I'm in the process of that, and it's kind of cool because there's actually a few real estate agents in there. What's actually funny is one of the, used to be co-owner, what is now an agent, and she signed the business over to someone else, and she's not like utilizing her business through the group, which is weird. And so when I met with the current owner now, she was like, yeah, we don't really have anyone that's like big in real estate in this group. And I was like surprised because there's several realtors in the group, but they're just not putting themselves out there. And so anyway, I'm kind of just, putting myself out there a little bit differently and trying to take some opportunities that, I don't want to say take opportunities. I want to offer what I have and, just be of value to that group. So kind of excited for that.
That's great. I would definitely register them with Bundle Select and then have another conversation with the owner.
Okay. Yep. Doing it now.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Who's gonna be the first one to actually get a company signed up? That's a race.
Yeah, I definitely need to prioritize that.
Yeah.
And make it happen.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
one of the
I've
other
done like
things.
some reach outs, but I haven't been very like aggressive. Like I can take more steps.
Yeah, for sure.
Get there. So, all right.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for all your input. Oh, Ashley.
My ending quote, I think it's funny. If you hang out with chickens, you're going to cluck. If you hang out with the eagles, you're going to fly.
You're gonna plug.
Like, cluck. All right.
Well, that's
Love you guys. Thank you for joining.
That's awesome. I love it.
Thank you.
You're
Bye,
all
everybody.
Yeah, you're all
you
eagles,
later.
by the way. I was not saying you're chickens.
All right, love you guys. Talk to
Love
you
you
later.
guys. See you. Bye.
We're going to left.